Well, first of all, I'm absolutely delighted to be here today. It's nice to see so many people. I've already met at least one gentleman that I had met virtually. So it's nice to actually be able to put some faces to names, and there's nothing like in-person meetings. So this is really a pleasure for me, and thank you for the invitation. And I do want to just acknowledge Minister Rushton sends his regrets. He had hoped to be here today but was unable to, but wishes you all a very good conference. And certainly this conference and the ones that will be held in the western and eastern regions are opportunities for our private woodland owners to access the tools and expertise that they need to manage their lands. Jazzy. These meetings are also a great opportunity to meet and network with other woodland owners. Collaboration and knowledge sharing play huge roles in the forest sector, especially when it comes to managing private woodlands. There's no doubt that we're in a time of change and transition, which has already been mentioned, but certainly this is also part of our forestry. It is undergoing a huge change and transition. So each of us is keenly aware of the uncertainty that many in the sector are feeling. However, as challenging as change can be, we're moving toward a brighter, more sustainable future. Premier Houston has directed us to fully implement ecological forestry on Crown land, and the department is delivering on that commitment. I want to assure you that the new provincial government and my department are committed to working across the entire industry to achieve healthy forests and a sustainable forestry sector. We're also committed to conserving biodiversity, nurturing healthy forests, and supporting a sustainable industry through better forest management. Continued engagement with private woodlot owners, is an important part of this effort. We want to understand your needs, your values, interests, and motivations for private land use, as well as management practices. Your input and feedback help inform the development and delivery of government programs and services, and improve information sharing and education, and support woodland owner-led solutions. Before I run through the update on progress on ecological forestry, I want to remind you about the Woodlot Owner of the Year Award. We're currently accepting nominations to acknowledge exceptional stewardship by small and private woodland owners. We're lucky to have some of the former recipients with us today, and you'll hear them speak about their stewardship practices very soon. So if you know someone who is especially deserving this year and would like to recognize them for outstanding stewardship of their woodlands, please send in your nomination through our website, and the deadline is May 30th. I also want to acknowledge the organizations that have worked together to bring you the Woodlands Conferences. Thank you to the partners, sponsors, and staff for your combined efforts to make today possible. Your beautiful smudging is causing my throat to get a little choked up. I'm just going to get some water. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Okay, so now just to run through a bit of an update in terms of the work that the department is doing. We have some slides, and I have some team members who I know are going to help and support me. I have no ego about having to stand up here and answer all your questions. It's more important to me that you get the answers you need. So if the team, anyone from the team feels they have a great answer to a question, please just speak up. I have no problem with that, and there'll be time for answers at the end. We'll see how this goes. Voila. So in addition to COVID, we've also had a number of changes that we've all experienced within government as well. So we have a new government. Premier Houston is leading. We have a new department, which is really the merging of two former departments, Lands and Forestry, which you would all probably be quite familiar with, and Mines and Energy. And that is what has formed our Natural Resources and Renewables department. And of course, I'm a new deputy. So full disclosure, this is not my background. And I have spent the last 7 months plus really getting up to speed and learning and meeting a lot of stakeholders. It's been an absolute pleasure The team has been very generous with their time to share their knowledge with me. And not that this is about me, but just so you know a little bit about my background, it's more in the areas of workforce development. I was on the Forestry Transition Committee when the 2 mills were closing back in 2011, 2012. One subsequently was sold in Port Hawkesbury. So I had a little bit more knowledge of forestry, especially considering how much knowledge I've had to acquire with respect to the renewable energy side of the table and you know, wind and tidal energy. But it's been a really exciting time for all of us. The new government is also committed to implementing ecological forestry, as I mentioned. If any of you have actually seen the Minister's mandate letter, you'll see, I think it might be our first mandate requirement is to implement Leahy's report. So we've done a lot of work in that area that I'm going to give you a bit of an update on. In addition to that, what the government has shown their commitment to ecological forestry as part of the environment, what we call EGRA in government, because of course we have acronyms for everything, Environmental Goals and Climate Change Reduction Act goal to implement the Forestry Practices Review Triad model on Crown land by 2023. That doesn't mean we're waiting until 2023, which a lot of the critics picked up. It's that by 2023 it will be implemented. So as you'll see as I go through it, there's a lot of work that has already happened and is well underway. It also includes identifying how much Crown land is going to be dedicated to each leg of the triad. So just a reminder, I know many of you, if not most of you, are private landowners. So what we're sharing today is the work that we're doing on private. We would certainly welcome you to take a look at our resources and use what you can, share your ideas of what works for you, and hopefully there'll be an exchange of ideas there as well as we go forward. And we are committed to public and stakeholder participation. We want to hear from everyone in whatever way works. So whether it's in-person meetings, virtual meetings, online, exchanges, surveys, we're going to compile all that information to help inform our work going forward. This requires a lot of coordination. So, as I said, our focus is on Crown land, of course. And so we're developing those policies and tools that will help us deliver on ecological forestry on Crown land. And, you know, that certainly private landowners, you're welcome to use our material. You're welcome to adopt some of these principles, though it's not a requirement at this time, for sure. And we encourage you to participate in our consultations. You may have really great ideas already that you're doing that we can learn from. You may also be able to benefit from the material that we're developing. So we're really hoping for a constant sharing as we go forward. And so the other thing that we'd ask you to do, as I said earlier, is participate in the consultation. And our approach is really one of constant improvement and adaptation. So as the science changes, as we get more information, you know, we'll be changing our approach or adjusting our approach is probably a better way to say it as we go forward. So I already see a couple of errors here, sorry. So in July 2021, we're not futuristic here. We released the final Silviculture Guide for the Ecological Matrix, or SGEM, as I'll refer to it going forward. And since that time, we've really been spending a lot of time conducting training with staff and stakeholders to really be able to see SGEM delivered on the ground and start to see the success going forward. And also with that, we want to make sure that with respect to the training, that staff and stakeholders really understand what's required as we move forward with ecological forestry. We're updating the pre-treatment assessment process so that it's easy to use by staff and licensees, and we want to include new biodiversity requirements in that. And we're also busily, I know the staff have been working at breakneck speed to review all previously approved harvests, just to see, you know, are any of them outside or non-compliant with SGEM, and what would it take to enable them to be compliant. We're also doing a lot of work with respect to high production forestry. Again, that's sorry about the date is incorrect there. So in July 2021, we released the high production forestry phase 1 final report. And what that report identified was the criteria that would be used for site selection for high production forestry. And what we're doing now is we're actually going through Crown lands to identify where would the best places be to be able to move forward on that. And stay tuned, we hope to get something out soon to people so that you'll understand our next steps with high production forestry. We've also done a lot of work in the area of natural disturbances regimes. I know I was saying that wrong, sorry. Sorry about that. And when we're talking about natural disturbance agents, what we're talking about are things like fire, wind, and insects, of course. So in 2020, in the Environmental Reviews Journal, there was a first report published, or first article published on the history of natural disturbance agents in the province. And then a second paper was recently published in 2021 in that same journal, which applied that information from the first journal to the application of ecological forestry. And both papers, if you're interested, are on our website as well. And in the fall of 2021, we started our consultations on the draft policy for old growth forest, and what that really speaks to is the conservation of old forests, including old growth on Crown lands. Our team has conducted a lot of stakeholder sessions, and they're currently going through all the feedback that they've received and doing revisions on the old growth policy. And we anticipate that that policy is going to be released in the summer of 2022. So watch for that as well. And all of this information we will always put on our website, which I will have at the back of the presentation when I get to it to show you. We've done a lot of work on species at-risk program renewal. So we have reviewed all of the recovery plans for those species at risk that are under the purview of the provincial government or the province. The department's reviewed and updated all of the existing plans, so 100% of those are done. We've also released a mainland moose recovery plan, and information on recovery plans and species at risk, of course, are on our website as well. And it's really important to note, and especially of note for this group, is that the species at risk requirements apply to the whole province, not just Crown lands. And so the department is here. We're happy to support in any way possible to kind of help inform you if it's useful on kind of what species at risk you might have and what approaches should be and how you might be able to manage them. So don't hesitate to reach out. And in terms of outcomes-based forestry management, we are presently designing an approach to manage forests according to expected outcomes, and what we will do is prioritize biodiversity, social, ecological, and economic values. And we're developing a draft framework for this outcome-based forestry management that will include principles, values, objectives. And I'm presently trying to design and implement a pilot to sort of test out these principles and concept in the Highlands of Cape Breton. So hopefully we'll learn a lot from that pilot and be able to see where and if it could be applied in other areas of the province. So we're also developing a new framework for environmental assessment to review Crown land forest management plans that are submitted by applicable Crown forest agreement holders. We'll develop the guide for 20-year stewardship, and we'll be anticipating holding public consultations on this spring. So again, even though you may not be part of the Crown land group, we hope that you will participate in any consultations that are available and give us your feedback and your thoughts, ideas that you may have. So I would welcome everyone's input on that. Many of you would already perhaps be aware of our small-scale wood heat initiative. It's been underway for a few years now, and this is really about converting hot water heating systems that are run off of oil to wood chips in particular, in select public buildings. And the wood chip heating system ensures the use of locally sourced wood chips, primarily actually from private woodlot owners. And this is creating new markets that's focused on private land. Phase 1 is now complete. We have 9 buildings at 6 sites that are using this system. In fact, 2 of them are district heating systems. And we're looking at what are some other suitable buildings so that we can move into a phase 2 for that. And there's a great video, which I will not play now because it's about almost 8 minutes long. It's a bit long, but I would really encourage you to take a look at it. It explains the initiative, and really, it's really, really well done. We're quite proud of it. There's probably a link on our website. If not, send us an email and we'll make sure we flip it to you, but I'm pretty sure it's on the website. Okay, so what's next? So going forward, there's a lot of work that we sort of have kind of plans to do and move forward. Again, you'll see ongoing. We're going to continue with that training and development of staff on the SGEM and licensees and contractors so that people can hit the ground running and everyone really understands what the expectations are and what that looks like on the ground. In the spring, we're going to launch a State of the Forest website with additional information. And we will be releasing or announcing at least some next steps for high production forestry. And as I mentioned earlier, that's really going to be where and what that looks like. And then we'll do some consultation on the draft forest stewardship guide in the spring. And this summer, you'll see the updated old growth forest policy, which will have will be inclusive of all of the feedback that we received throughout the stakeholder consultations in the fall. And then going forward, 22-23, we still haven't kind of finalized exactly the dates there, but we're going to complete all training and development for full implementation of SGEM. Public consultation on revised wildlife habitat and water course protection regulations will take place, and we'll be doing some additional public consultation on silviculture programs. So this is our website. As I've said, just everything is always novascotia.ca, and then usually a / and whatever the topic is. So the topic in this case, of course, is ecological forestry. So hopefully, if you did a Google search, if you don't have it with you, ecological forestry in Nova Scotia would probably bring you there. She says, not having done that herself, but hopefully it will work. Okay, that's it for me, but if you have any questions, and happy to answer them.